Welcome everyone to the Continuing Lincoln's Unfinished Work Conference.
I was remembering that this conference started on Wednesday, and Randall Kennedy was struggling with whether we should be optimistic or pessimistic about the future of race relations, and how we go back and forth and up and down and a bit of both. But this unfinished work means that it's up to the future generations like we have here, and we are so pleased that these students are here. And I hope you learned that Black history is not just 1 month in the school year, that you learn it's American history, for goodness sakes. So these students come from South Carolina and Georgia. The South Carolina Rural Social Action Team, and the Booker T. Washington High School, These Hills Can Talk. These halls can talk. Sometimes these high schools will give students permission to go on field trips like this if they're in the AP history class. But they're more reluctant to do it if they're kids who are not in that class, but they're real interested in social activism, helping their community. That's what these students are. They really care about the future of their community, and that's why they're here. I'm going to let Dixie Goswami say something first, and then did you want to introduce Bobby and Shalisa then? Okay.
I will. I want to tell you who we are. We are members of a national network funded primarily by the Ford Foundation. It has its home at Middlebury College. We bring together young people who are mostly in economically distressed rural and urban places and provide opportunities for teaching and learning. Today you have with you social action teams from Aiken, South Carolina, hosted by University of South Carolina, Aiken. Raise your hands. Come on. And from Georgia Tech's Ivan Allen College of Liberal Arts, that's sponsoring a program that Shalisa is here to represent, called These Halls Can Talk, at Booker T. Washington High School. We bring together about 100 students from the Navajo Nation, from Vermont, from an immigrant community in Lawrence, Mass., from several other places, and we are advocates. We travel together, and we are trying to position ourselves as resources to groups like yours, scholars, activists, others, who need the perspectives of these young people to address issues, not just about teaching race in South Carolina public schools, but about every single issue that confronts us. One of the important threads that goes across the network is about health justice, health equity, and how that plays out in various communities. One of our partners in this is Paul Farmer at Partners in Health, who's helped us develop a program that insists that young people are essential community health workers, and that without them, we are not going to get anywhere. So I want to, where's Vernon? I have to thank Vernon Burton for being the visionary, practical, bold scholar that he is.
Thank you for lowering expectations.
Who said that, he would invite these young people here to a world-class symposium that brought together scholars, activists, people who are making a difference. So thank you for letting us be here. I am the oldest person here. Can you imagine? I was born in 1931 in Rock Hill, South Carolina, educated in the deeply violent and segregated South at Presbyterian College, at Clemson University. I see some of you out there who might have been young colleagues when I joined the faculty of Clemson University. I'm married to a handsome old immigrant sitting back there. Buvanish, well, raise your hand, you've survived. We've been married for 50 years. He's an SO Club devotee. And we have 15 multiracial, multi-ethnic, great-grandchildren. I've got a personal stake in what you do, honey. So it's my great honor to present to you young advocates, young activists. They might tell you they don't know what they're doing here, but they do. Here's this young man who just moved from New York to Aiken, South Carolina. He's already beginning to make a difference. Thank you all. Capoto, shake. All I want to say here are Bobby and Shalisa. Shalisa is a graduate of Spelman University. Spelman College, I beg your pardon. She's just back from Kenya. She is a Ford Fellow. She studied at Middlebury this summer. She's going to get her PhD soon. I hope that's going to be a matter of fact. And she directs and is the director of the project called These Halls Can Talk at Booker T. Washington High School, who is the high school that's under pressure of kinds that we can't even begin to describe. Thank you, Shalisa. This is Bobby Harley. Bobby Harley we met him as an advisor to the South Carolina Arts Commission's wonderful project, South Carolina, the Art of Community, South Carolina Rural. He is a Port Laureate of South Carolina State University. He is an Otway Fellow from South Carolina. He is a James Madison Scholar who will be studying at George Washington. And he is a mentor to these young people.
Okay.
It's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Dixie. Thank you.
I'm going to start coughing, so
And tell people that at the beginning of the workshop, you guys are going to be there again if people want to hear more of these young people. So they'll be part of that as well, and we'll speak again.
Yes, again, we'll be at the beginning of there's an echo, the next session after lunch. So if you're around, feel free to ask questions. But being that we don't have much time, we'll start with the Atlanta students, and then after lunch, we'll go into the South Carolina students. But just to repeat briefly a little what Dixie just, oh, that's what it is. Just to repeat briefly what Dixie just said. The last 3 days we've been discussing the unfinished work of Abraham Lincoln. However, today we'll be discussing some specifics according to the Next Generation. Next Generation is a student-led network sponsored by Middlebury College, Breadloaf School of English, and funded by the Ford Foundation. Our goal is to put young people from all backgrounds in positions of leadership. We currently have action teams in Atlanta, Georgia, Aiken and Allendale, South Carolina, Lawrence, Massachusetts, Louisville, Kentucky, Navajo Nation, Arizona, and Vermont. Imagine taking a kid from an underrepresented community like Aiken and sending them to Navajo Nation to network and collaborate with other youth. That is Lincoln's unfinished work personified, but it is our job as educators to put what this generation is reporting to us and give it historical context. So now I'll pass the mic to my colleague, Shalisa.
Can you all hear me? Okay, I'm actually pull this up somewhere. So my name is Shalisa Brewer. I am a founding director, I'm the founding director of These Halls Can Talk, the Booker T. Washington High School Oral History Project in Atlanta, Georgia. Booker T. Washington High School is the oldest public high school for African Americans in the state of Georgia. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. attended Washington. Lena Horne, Nipsey Russell, me, these young ladies, all these great people have attended Washington High School. So I work with a group of current Washington High School students who research different historical, political, or social events that happened while specific people were students at Washington or even former faculty and staff. And they do the research and generate questions to ask them. And they also do the videography and the filmmaking because they want to take ownership of how their history is preserved. So, yes, and that's what I do, and it's entitled These Halls Can Talk. Oh, is it going to start from there? Okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Miriam. I am a junior at Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta, and as a These Halls Can Talk scholar, I've learned about preserving the history of my historical high school. In this project, I've learned the importance of communicating with elders to not only learn my history, but also to reinstate a sense of pride and self. I've noticed that the history of my community is being erased due to various factors, which has resulted in a lack of value and concern for this school and its community. An important takeaway from this symposium for teachers, educators, and everyone is that you have to learn the history to not only understand it, but also make it relatable and engaging to my generation in order to build the future. Once everyone understands history, they will subconsciously not repeat it. This brings me to my point about young people. I believe young people can be a resource when it comes to teaching about race in schools, communities, districts, and states, because usually when there is a conversation about the history of race among different age groups, you tend to notice the generational divide. When elders talk about race, the younger people don't really understand, and vice versa. So I feel like both groups should be having these conversations with each other. So when older people talk about their history, the younger person should connect that to their current events and see how it repeated. Having these discussions can begin to both close the generational gap and address issues of race in our history. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katrina Taylor. I'm currently a junior at Booker T. Washington High School in Atlanta. And as a These Halls Can Talk scholar, I've conducted interviews with numerous alumni focusing on understanding the past of Booker T. Washington High School to protect not only the history and legacy, but also the future. I've learned that you are going to have to not only do your research to prepare to understand what they will be talking about, as well as in life, but also that you're going to have to interact and talk with people in order to gain insight on the past problems that could occur in the future. Essentially, bridging the generational gap between the past and the present. In my view and experience, I have learned that when you are passionate about contributing to a certain cause, you need to be able to establish the difference between empathy and sympathy. I mean this in the sense that you can be passionate about something and you could do all the research and feel sympathy for people, but you won't be able to make a connection and know the exact way you can help them personally, and won't know the depth of their problems, as two people aren't the same. You have to be willing to not only talk to people, but to actually listen and retain information. Young people can be a resource when it comes to speaking about race in their schools, because they can give teachers accurate insight on how to bring up race and teaching history in ways that students would be interested. Students will be able to relay the message of the mindset of modern students because times are changing, students are changing, and the ways of teaching that were effective 50 years ago won't necessarily be effective today. Thank you.
So my name is Amaya Bussey. I'm in 12th grade and I attend Aiken High. So I wanted to bring to y'all an issue that I have in my school. An issue that I have in my school is like less fortunate kids that aren't able to experience different communities and get the knowledge that they need. Like this conference that I'm on, most kids can't go on conferences because they don't have enough money, or their parents don't understand what we're doing. The cause of this is, I believe, is funding for more clubs and after-school programs to help kids get out of trouble and focus on more education and other opportunities. For another example, like HBCUs and other more popular colleges that they have, like HBCUs don't get as much funding. Like USC Columbia, I'm not knocking it. You know, I love it. You know, they have like 5 or 6 new facilities, training facility, soccer court, everything. And last week I visited Voorhees College down in Denmark, and it's totally different. Like, it needs work. Like, you know, you could share some of the funding with Voorhees, you know, like. So I feel like schools with the fewest resources are more at risk of suffering from significant underfunding and little representation on communities designed throughout the community. And something that I got from Dr. Edward T. Johnson, he said, first, there was the outright ban on access to education during slavery. Then what we are talking about in the conference, reconstruction. Then after that, at the construction of black institutions, there was unequal funding and second-rate resources. And the issue that black institutes are still fighting to dismantle. Like, they're still fighting for more funding and more like education resources that most colleges have, but HBCUs does not. Another thing that Johnson said is most folks can call higher education the great equalizer, but one of the things a lot of people do not want to acknowledge about HBCUs is that most institutions usually have more support from more religious institutes or some white communities. Thank you.
And if I can just add, I am thankful for professors like Bobby Donaldson, Cecil Williams, Dr. Petty also spoke to us yesterday. And we will continue to engage by going to these places like Columbia and taking a tour, going to Orangeburg. I graduated from South Carolina State, studying under Dr. Hine, but going to Orangeburg and meeting Cecil Williams, walking on SC State campus, and of course with Voorhees, it was founded by Elizabeth Wright. So in them going to the library there, just engage, not just today, but continuing doing this unfinished work by engaging with the history. So I look forward to keep this going beyond today.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Aiken High. In my community, I see a lot of people just going ahead and discriminating against the school, especially our school. A lot of people call our school, we're full of thugs, we're on the wrong side of the tracks, ghetto, trashy, all types of stuff. But it's not even just our school. Like, if I ask my friends, what do they think about South Aiken? Everybody pretty much says they're hard druggies. Or Midland Valley, they're valley rats. And I just kind of want to break that barrier of us not trying to discriminate against other schools and work together. And a way that we could do that is get our clubs joining together and doing stuff together instead of apart from each other, and getting these kids together and showing them that they have a common ground. Like, if everybody came to this, or not everybody, but like we got a majority of the kids to come to this, they can all see that we all have a common ground. Instead of just bashing each other's schools, we need to come together and show that we have a common ground. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amir Robinson, and I'm a member of the Next Gen of Aiken, South Carolina. In my school, the rate of fights between students is not acceptable. Violence like this should not partake in school because the school should be a safe and secure learning environment. With that being said, students should not settle their differences by a violent dispute. Instead, the student body should be able to talk their differences out in a fashionable manner. Students should be mindful that teachers can help by offering their support. sometimes all a person needs is just to talk to someone about their problems so that their problems won't be seen as something that'll just be put on the back burner, that'll not be relevant to somebody. Another reason why helping students talk is because maybe they don't have somebody at home to talk to their problems about. A goal for a grown-up to make sure a student is successful is to make sure they're not getting involved in gangs and activities that are bad for a young person that our age shouldn't be into. A goal for our school is that we should make sure that after school programs are free so we won't have to worry about people joining gangs and being into the bad activity that they shouldn't be into. In conclusion, communication is key to solve problems, and this skill should be exercised in schools more. Thank you.
I'm Capono. All right, y'all can hear me. I'm Capono from Aiken High School in Aiken. I am passionate about fixing the way the kids are to each other in hallways and towards other students, because in schools we have a lot of people in the hallway crowded together talking about other people, and people can hear it, so they're like discriminating them or talking about them in different ways. People often talk about like how they're not dressed like us or like don't have the same clothes as each other, but they don't know their background and what goes on in their life. So I want to fix that, like where people should not have to be discriminated on what they wear and how they are in school, and they could just be themselves and express themselves. Most people. And most of them are, and I think the teachers, they should be able to go outside in the hallway and like push it along so they won't happen all the time, so they can get to class early and don't have to talk about people. And some people be hurting in their feelings, like they don't want to express it, but they be hurt inside. Like at school, I saw these kids, they was like talking about him, but he didn't know. But other people around him were laughing, and he thought they wasn't talking about him, but they was talking about him. So he felt kind of nervous and like, I don't know, he wanted to cry, but he couldn't cry because he didn't want to get picked on even more. So I think we should change that.
Can you speak a little bit about the issue, if you can, about the issue of we talk about with shirts and clothes in your school with the Confederate flag?
Yeah. In our school, like we have some people that wear like Confederate flags and stuff that is like against other people, and they don't say nothing about it. But if like a black person will wear like a Barack Obama or a shirt towards them like Black Lives Matter or something like that, they'll tell them to take it off. But if other people will wear it, they won't take it off.
Okay, so since we're a community of teachers and we have a panel of youth, it is important for us to know as teachers that we can't expect youth to carry the torch if we don't know how to pass it to them. And there's a lot of questions that we need to ask ourselves as teachers about how to how to pass the torch on to youth. And I've boiled this down to the three main questions that I ask myself. And the first one is, how am I building a strong relationship with my students? Students respond better to you and your lessons when you build that relationship with them, and also if you show them that you care. And then also, you are more adamant as teachers. You are more adamant as teachers about creating quality lessons that your students will understand when you genuinely care about them and their future. And also understand what your students are passionate about and design lesson plans accordingly. So for example, Katrina is really into art, and so I've designed lesson plans that incorporate art so that she's actively engaged in a lesson. and so forth. Another question that is important is, am I ready to be challenged? Teaching history especially is interesting. It's very challenging, and oftentimes students are going to be bored. And it's just like a lot of facts that are going over their heads. So you have to ask yourself, am I ready for my students to say, Miss Lisa or Miss So-and-so, I'm bored. I don't know what you're talking about. And so you basically have to set your ego aside to prepare for those questions, or to prepare to be challenged. And also, it's great. You should embrace it, because these kids are actively participating, or actively taking charge of their education and how they're learning. And then finally, what are my intentions when I step into that classroom? Am I helping or harming my students? I did Teach for America for 2 years, and one of the teachers, it was a white teacher, and she came, just openly said about her black students. She was like, why would I need to teach these students something? Well, why would I want to give these students the education that actively challenge my kids, my actual kids? So she's like, I don't care about teaching them. She actively said that. She actually said that. And I appreciated her honesty, but she obviously didn't have good intentions when going into that classroom. So ask yourself, am I harming or am I helping my students when walking into that classroom? So if you have a strong relationship with your kids, if you're ready to be challenged, if you have great intentions, you already have the tools you need to pass the torch on to the youth. And it is tiring. It is a lot of hard work. It's stressful. It's a lot, but just hearing these young people and actually seeing these three grow over the past 3 years, it is necessary, and it's also very worth it. So thank you.
And I know, because I went down to work with some of these students as part of our arrangement, and they kept saying, you sure are boring. So no, I appreciate what you're saying, and I think this, and hopefully we can, in fact, during the teacher workshop, get some responses to what you have learned here and the interviews you had with Cecil Williams and some of the other scholars. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But if people want to have at least 2 questions here with these young people, I think we should while they're here. And those of you who stay for the workshop, they'll be back up as we learn more about, hopefully, how to teach about race relations, where kids can wear a Confederate flag but not an Obama shirt. And how do you deal with that? I have some ideas, but since I've been taped, I will not get into the study of violence that we've already talked about and how destructive that is.
Well, congratulations and welcome. We're very happy to have you here. And as you guys are kind of coming towards the end of your high school careers, what do you guys have in plan for your futures?
That goes to the career you had planned to before you came here and decided you want to be historians. So you don't have to say you all want to be historians now. I know you changed your mind, because I interviewed them the same question was the first one. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
If I don't play college football, I want to be a physical therapist.
I was thinking about going in the sports management field, or like advertisement and marketing, stuff like that.
I was thinking about going into business so I can open my own bakery.
So I am going to the military first, and then after I am going to probably Clemson. Yay. And I'm going to be a physical therapist.
I'm planning on majoring in the arts. I'm going to major in fashion and photography.
I probably want to do something in the health field. I probably would do like a pediatrician, but then I don't think I'm good with kids, so I'm probably going to do something else, something in the health field. I don't know what it is yet.
You want to get Monet to say?
We have another question.
Yeah. This is our videographer.
I want to major in psychology because I want to be a child psychologist, and I plan to open my own practice.
I currently don't have any class right now, but I am taking American government at Georgia State next semester, as well as, I think, economics and global issues.
Any other question or?
I have a teacher that does focus on diversity, and she's my English teacher. And she is somebody that cares so much about equal. Like, everybody needs to be equal. Like, there doesn't need to be just one or the other. She wants everything to be equal.
Hello, my name is Sean Lloyd. I'm actually an alumni from North Augusta High School, not too far from Aiken. I actually had a question about how do you feel about with all the funding that's been brought to North Augusta to build the new school and basically tear down the old one that's been around? How do you feel that sets up a barrier with the other local high schools, or how does it stand as a model for how the other local high schools like Aiken and South Aiken should sort of model their schools to be?
Okay, so yes, I found out that North Augusta is having a new facility. Also, Aiken High, we are building on to our new school. We're getting a new gym, a new culinary, and auditorium and everything. So right now, those are the only two schools that's getting built up right now. South Aiken is not, and Midland Valley is not. So the problem is, like, why build so much onto a school? Like, Aiken High has been getting built on for like 3-4 years. Like, yeah, like there's no change in South Aiken, Midland Valley, Silver Bluff. There's no change. You need to expand the money-wise and help every school to get better. There's no thing in one school getting better and the other one staying the same. Shouldn't be like that.
Maybe one more question.
Yeah, could you tell us, and please be honest, what you liked and didn't like about attending this conference?
You don't have to be honest.
What caught your interest and kept you from being bored?
You want to go first? It's not to offend anyone, but like sometimes it was like kind of hard to follow because it was kind of like long essays, and it's kind of like a lecture class in college, and I kind of wasn't paying attention. But I did like Cecile Williams because he showed visuals and kind of engaged. It was kind of engaging because you could look at the pictures and be like, oh, that's cool. He took it back. He took those pictures back in the day, so I feel like you should be more engaging and show visuals.
Like Miriam said, it was a lot of information to take in all at once. But what I did hear, it was interesting to hear, to expand upon what I've already learned in school. Like, it went a little more in depth into like the social issues and stuff.
So one thing that I like, I'm gonna go with what I like first. I like the visuals, like she said. They was very interesting. They let me picture what he was talking about and understand what's going on. One thing I didn't like, they was long. I'm not even gonna front. Y'all was falling asleep too. I saw it. I saw y'all falling asleep. Saw it. But yes.
I'm pretty much just like them. The visuals really help just because it keeps us engaged. And especially for high school students, if we have those visuals, we ain't gonna be bored really, because visuals are everything for us. And I guess the one thing, I don't really think I didn't dislike anything, because like the way that they presented up here was kind of preparing us for college, how college is going to be. So I don't really think I disliked anything.
I like the fact that when I came and participated in like sitting down and watching all of them present their opinions on about Lincoln and all that, it was like to learn something new and something that I don't learn every day, I guess. And I mean, I like it because just the fact of being at Clemson, like, that's not, you don't come here every day, like, I don't come here every day. So, yeah, what I didn't like, I mean, I was kind of already said, so there's no need to repeat it, just to make it, so. But yeah, other than that, I like the experience of being here.
Just like what they said, I like the pictures because it kept me from almost falling asleep because it was so long and all the facts was like, in my brain, I was like, oh my goodness, am I gonna get out of here? But I really like the way how the facts and the history of all the racial reconstruction and everything.
Let's give them a hand.